Today we're going to be creating a name glyph. A glyph is essentially a sound or a recognizable symbol in a specific language. In the English language, our letters and our numbers are considered glyphs. So we're going to create a glyph using your name. In this case, I'm going to use my own name. So I'm going to set up my file to create our name glyph, and then we're going to add a cut contour line to create a die cut sticker. This video is going to focus on just creating the name glyph. We're going to open up a brand new document. We're going to title this as our period number. So I'm going to put an AM underscore my name underscore and then the title of the assignment, which in this case is glyph. I'm going to set my width and my height. So I'm going to set this to pixels first, and I'm going to set this to 1000 pixels by 300 pixels. And then I'm going to place 4 artboards on here. And the reason I'm doing 4 artboards is because we're going to create our name glyph. We're going to add color to it, we're going to create it into a sticker, and then we're going to create it into a Glowforge design. And each one of these will be slightly different videos. So I'm going to come over here to our toolbar, and I'm going to come all the way down to our artboard tool, and I'm just going to click once on that. That's going to automatically open up our artboard properties. So if I go over to the artboard properties tab and I go down to rearrange all, a pop-up window will appear, and I can tell everything to go down in one straight column so that every time I make a change, I just move it down one artboard. When you finish using any tool, I highly recommend clicking on the black arrow just to get you back into being able to move through your screen and move things around. Then I'm going to go to the tool I'm going to use next. So in this case, I'm going to go to the type tool, and then I'm going to just click once on my artboard. So before we do that, I'm going to show you the differences. If you click more than once, if you click and you drag, it will actually create a lorem ipsum paragraph style. So you can see how your text would appear as if you were to write in a paragraph. That's great, but if you want to resize it really quick and easily, you actually have to go in and do a bunch more steps. So rather than doing the click and drag, we're just going to click one time, and you'll see just a tiny little lorem ipsum appear. From here, you're going to type your name. You can choose to do all caps, lowercase, or title case. I'm going to do title case for this. Once I've finished typing my name, I'm going to click on the black arrow, and I'm just going to zoom out. You can see that this is a very, very small font, so I'm going to click and drag, and when I click on the bounding box and drag, I want to also hold down the Shift key so that I can keep my word proportional the whole way. Now I'm going to find a font that I particularly like. So I'm going to look through the different font families. I'm just going to go through until I find one that I like. The more complicated your font is, the more anchor points you're going to have. So for this next step, you might want to stray away from something that is very flowy or very large, or even has a lot of texture to it or extra pieces, because those ones are going to have an absolute ton of anchor points. And in general, in fonts, you're going to have a lot more anchor points than what you particularly would like. So this is a type of font that I would avoid because it's just going to be straight anchor points. So I'm going to go with Bauhaus 93. Once you've found the font that you like the most, I'm going to go to Type up at the top of my screen, and I'm going to go down to Create Outlines, which is Shift-Control-O. What this does is it turns each of our letters, our recognizable type tool letters, into glyphs or shapes as you might recognize them. As we zoom in, you can now see, as I hold down the control button, you can see all of the anchor points that appear. So this still has a lot of anchor points, but it's a lot more manageable than some of the other ones. So for example, if I went back and I changed this to one of those that I recommended not using, for example, let's look at Black Adder. If I change Black Adder to outlines and I go to Type, Create Outlines, and then I hold down my control, you can see the difference between Bauhaus 93 and Black Adder. Black Adder has a lot of movement in the letters, in the glyphs, so it has to have an absolute ton of anchor points. So we're just going to go back to Bauhaus. And again, you can choose any font that you want to play with for this. This is just what I'm going to use. Type, create outlines. Now I'm going to come in and start to modify my letters. Everything is grouped together. I'm going to switch to the white arrow. For example, if I wanted to make everything really soft corners before I click onto any singular anchor point or any singular corner widget, I can just click and drag and it can adjust everything all at once. If I want to adjust multiples at the same time, I can hold down the Shift key and just click on individual ones. You'll notice that this one turns blue and these ones turn white. The white ones mean that they are not selected and the blue means that they are. When I click and drag on that one, now I'm adjusting both at the same time and I can make some adjustments together. I can do the same thing as I go through here and make changes. So now we're just going to modify our letters until we have something that we like. All right, so I've found that I do really like the concept that I have going on for my B that I might want to use for my G. So I might take the letter and just kind of take it and flip it over. So if I come in here, it's all grouped together. I can ungroup it and then just take one letter and make a copy of it. And then I might just rotate that and flip it upside down. But I do like that it has a little bit more of a piece of movement here. So I might just pull that, bring this one in, and then I might just kind of merge them together a little bit. So if I just overlap a few pieces here, like if I come here, I might just make it a little bit longer. And now I'm just kind of looking at like how this moves. And then I can remove certain pieces. So I can come in here and I can actually remove anchor points. But I want to click on each one independently so that I'm not removing the entire thing. In some cases, you might want to remove bigger pieces, but right now I'm just trying to line it up so that I can kind of create that G in the same sense as the B. And since I'm going to be merging a bunch of my layers together in a little bit, this isn't a big deal for me to do. And I can come in here and modify some of my other anchor points to remove pieces. So for example, if I come in here and remove the anchor points that are attached here, let's see, got to move this one back out so I can get rid of these two or just move them up so I can shorten the G a little bit as well. So I can then bring this up a little bit higher. And now I have something that's very similar to this one, but it also matches a little bit more in terms of creating the G. And then if I want to use the same E and R, I might just take these letters and remove them, and then make copies of these letters and bring them over. Now, I might want to adjust individual letter sizes, move them around, get them closer or further apart. So here I'm just going to make my U much larger, and I kind of like the concept of combining the U and the M together. So I might just line these up so that they match a little bit better, and then overlap them a little bit. So here I'm kind of creating the U to the M, so it creates one solid letter. Then I might move the B in here and do the same kind of concept, so it connects. And now I'm starting to make something that's a little bit more unique. This is starting to lead into like logo design, right? So we're not just using a standard font that anybody can use or anybody can take off of the internet. We're starting to make it into our own unique and individual thing. So here I have the UMB. Now I'm going to start adding in the E. I could potentially overlap and do something in here, but then we'd lose the B entirely. So I might just keep that locked in to the letters here and just overlap it a little bit so it kind of continues that feel. Make the R a bit larger, maybe even make it a bit wider. So if I come in and I take my white direct selection tool, I can select some of these anchor points. Just use my arrow keys to push them over a little bit further, make it a little bit stronger, and then I can make a copy of that for the next one. So I'm going to keep that same concept going all the way through, right? So if I want to use these two letters the exact same, I would remove these two and bring these ones in. And then I'm going to make my G a bit larger, because now we need it to go down below so it matches the size of some of the other pieces in here, and so it reads as a G. I do want them touching just a little bit. I'm just going to overlap these just a little bit, and then I can move my entire design around. So now I want it to all fit into one artboard. I can move it up, I can make it a little bit smaller, and now I have my name that's a little bit more of maybe a logo style. If I were doing this as a logo, I'd probably remove the ER, GER, and just use the UMB because it makes more of a kind of glyph that I could use for a logo icon, but in this case, I'm going to keep it all together. So I'm going to merge my letters together because I'm eventually going to keep them all the same color. If you don't want them all to be the same color, then you might keep them separate and just group them together. I'm going to come in here and just make one final change, and then I'm going to save this design, and you guys can meet me in the next video to create the cut contour line.